New in After Effects CS5, we're including a brand new version of Mocha for After Effects. Now, if you're not familiar with Mocha, Mocha for After Effects was a product that was included with After Effects CS4. There's now a brand new revision of this in CS5 that has some really exciting features for rotoscoping and tracking, including new rotoscoping tools that have variable per point edge feathering and trackable vertex points. Now, the way Mocha works independently of After Effects, but the two programs tie together pretty nicely and create a really nice workflow. Here I am inside of After Effects, and I've gone ahead and brought in some footage. This footage has some foreground objects that we want to isolate out because maybe we want to play with the depth of field in the shot here. So if I go through and I just play some of this back here, you can see how those objects interact with our live actor. And so we want to take these three objects here, here, and here, and just put these on a separate layer here. So we want to track those out. So to do that, I'm going to take this footage and bring it over into Mocha. I've already done that, so we'll just switch over to Mocha. And the new controls here, I've already gone through and tracked two of these different shapes. The ability to track these shapes and export the shape data is something that's brand new inside of Mocha for After Effects version 2. So you can see I've already got two of these shapes tracked. I'm going to go ahead and track this third shape in and also keep kind of this ground line here. To do this, I'm going to go up to the top to the X-spline tool and just start clicking on some different points here. So we'll start in this corner, drag out my shape, and we'll go ahead and bring this down below the screen here, and again we'll find a nice point here, and a point here, and we'll complete our shape. Now, the great thing about Mocha, each of these different points, I can very easily go in and kind of nudge these points around, and you'll see that in this upper left corner here we get a sort of a magnify view, so we can really precisely see where our edges lie. So I'll quickly line a couple of these points up here. I'll line this one as well, right along our ground plane. And now that we have this shape set, we can start on any frame and we can begin the tracking process. I'll go ahead and start tracking this forwards. And what you'll see is Mocha is actually, it doesn't look on a point-for-point basis, it actually is looking at the overall shape data. So as a planar tracker, Mocha is great because you can draw a shape like this and very quickly start the tracking process. Now, if I pause this here, you'll notice that there are some new controls in here for edge width and motion blur. And so this is where I can go through and actually look and see if there's motion blur in a given shape. I can turn that on and track that motion information, and I can also adjust on a per point basis. I can select a point or add an edge point, and I can adjust the exact edge width that I want so that I can have variable edge feathering on each of these different points. Now we'll go ahead and continue the track here. And you can see this tracks very, very quickly. You can track each of these different shapes all in one pass, or you can do what I've done here, which I've separated out one layer and I'm just doing the track on one layer. So now I've tracked all of this information. I can go ahead and start playing this forward here, and you can see that my shape has tracked. Now I want to stop it here, and I want to move this back to the edge of the blue here because this is as far as I've tracked forward. Now we want to go ahead and track this back to the opening shot. So we'll go ahead and let this track backwards here as well. Something you'll notice is some of these shapes are moving off the screen. Mocha keeps the information. If it can find reference points, it will actually continue to track even as the majority of a shape leaves the screen. So this is one of the powerful things of Mocha. You do not have to go through and set one point, and when that point leaves the screen, create another point, parent it to the other point. The point tracking system has its uses, but a planar tracker is just a lot easier to use. Now that I've got my shape tracked, I want to get this over into After Effects. To do this, I actually want to export all three of these shapes simultaneously here. If you click on the this shape here, you'll see that we have many different points, and we've set the edge width on this to be a little bit wider than we did on our other two shapes. You can see I can click on this one, and this one has an edge width of 3. This one, on a per point basis, has an edge width of 7. So kind of widen this one out a little bit just to make a change there. I want to get this information over to After Effects. To do that, I'm just going to click this Export Shape Data button. Now, Mocha gives you the option of exporting a single layer, but when you've got 3 different shapes in a single comp, in this case all I want to do is export all visible layers. That way I get all 3 layers in one pass. I'm going to go ahead and copy this to my clipboard, shift back over to After Effects, make sure I have my layers selected, make sure I'm on my first frame, and we're just going to go through and paste this information in. When you see this, what it's going to do is actually create the masks here, and if I go through and look at this, let me make sure I'm on my correct color space here. If I go through and look at the effect controls, you'll see that we have 3 different shapes in the effect controls for this layer. The left shape, the right shape, and layer 8, the new layer that I added of the tire, all come through separately, and they can each be modified separately. So I can come in and choose if I want this to just be a cutout, if I want to have a color composite, or the shape cutout themselves. I can choose the shape color, adjust opacity, and so on and so forth. Now, one example where I might want to use something like this is if I want to play around with maybe depth of field in the shot. So what I could do here in this example is actually duplicate this layer and go through on this background layer. I'm just going to turn off these shapes so that way I have the shapes turned on my top layer. We'll call this one, I'll rename this one background. And now I could go through and take this top layer, which is just the shapes. You can turn it on and off here. I could go through and add a blur effect at this point. And now I could sit and actually play with the blur value here just by typing in maybe just a quick number, start to really play with this, maybe go up to 5, and now you can start to see the depth of field in the shot is increased because we've now blurred these foreground elements here. Now if I wanted to increase this further, do something really crazy, we'll go to 15, and you can really start to see the blur being applied to the shot at that point. So this is just a quick example of the new Mocha Shape plugin for After Effects. It's actually a separate effect in here that's now included called Mocha Shape. And also the new features that allow you to do shape cutouts using the Mocha Planar Tracker, Mocha for After Effects version 2, now included with CS5.